So just to start off, is this your first time running for vice president?
It sure is. Absolutely.
Nice. Okay. So why did you choose to run as an independent as opposed to affiliating with a different third party?
Yeah, that's a very important question. You know, I have always walked a journey that I think complicated some things for people. You know, I am a multiracial individual, grew up as an African American female, but have lineage from Benin, Africa, lineage from the Shawnee Cherokee tribe on the East Coast, and have announced publicly last year was in the fifth generation great granddaughter of Aaron Burr.
Oh, wow.
So I come from all sorts of DNA, if you will. So I'm sort of independent in my own thinking, you know, naturally. And so I have what could be seen as conservative leaning ideologies when it comes to sort of, you know, the fiscal side of the conversation, but yet I helped to start up an urban league, which is one of the largest civil rights organizations for the state of Delaware. So it was really hard to always box me in. I was serving as a RNC committee member on the African American Advisory Board under Bush. Oh. And yet I received in 2012 from Al Sharpton, the Keepers of the Dream Award. So you can't put me in a box, and you won't until it's that time. But even then I might be cremated. So with that said, you know, I've always been an independent and really feel like it's important. And even when I was on the RNC committee, I was still an independent. So I've always believed that we have to have a platform for people who you can't put in a box to exist.
Okay, so going off that, obviously the election is coming up very soon, just about 30 days from now. There has been a lot of speculation about mail-in ballots and a lot of talk about the election in general. And I was wondering, what is your stance on the Electoral College? Is this a system that still has value for you? Do you believe in it?
Oh, that's a really good question. You know, I don't think many of us know about it.
Right.
If I were to ask the Joe, you know, schmo on the street, like, what's the Electoral College? You know, they'd be like, what do you mean 270 what? You know?
Right.
I think it's important for us to allow for people's voices to be heard. Right, knowing that behind the scenes there's already a political structure that leans to kind of move things in the direction of those in power.
Right.
And so to me, I think it's time for us to sit down and really reevaluate the electoral process.
Right. Absolutely. So currently I'm in New Jersey, actually, and on the ballot coming up in November is the legalization of cannabis. So I was wondering if this is a position you support and what your thoughts are on it.
I 150,000% support the, you know, legalization of cannabis. It's literally something that Mother Earth gave to us as a tool, okay? Unadulterated, like literally as natural as it can get. It is a tool, just like a dandelion, just like the tree that we walk outside and see. Those are tools, those are gifts. They are, as far as I'm concerned, just as important as we are as human beings, you know? And so for me, it is crucial that we get back to looking at the natural gifts we've been given on this earth and what we have the ability to do with them, and not, again, if you look at the history of why, right, it was criminalized. We'll see a little hint of racism. Call it for what it is. And so we have to understand now it's time for us to look at that as well in terms of a federal level in taking away the Schedule I acknowledgement of cannabis, because that makes no sense. And I think most people, especially our generation, is very clear of what we need to do with that.
Absolutely. So in terms of how things are going to go in the next month and thereafter, what would you consider to be a positive outcome for you and Brock in terms of how this election goes? What is a goal of yours? What are you trying to achieve before Election Day?
Well, Brock and I often talk about how we've already won. We've already
Okay.
won.
Yeah.
We've already won because we both said yes to something that was probably death-defying, scary as haluva for either of us. Okay. So we've already won personally. You know, the fact that we're going up against a duopoly that has been embedded within our history for years and years and years, the fact that there are institutions, there are lobbyists, there's all sorts of, you know, everyday people that fight to have a duopoly in place. The fact that we were able to find the courage to start to bring attention to the need of a third platform, we call it party platform, if you will, right? An independent platform, means that we won in creating a space for other people's voices to be heard. Second is what we're trying to achieve. At the end of the day, this is just the beginning, right? There's a tiny, tiny, tiny slim chance, right, that we would win. So we're not naive. We know that in order for other young people to feel like there is a possibility to be a part of a democratic system, and that we were sort of the older version of the young professionals saying yes,
Right.
that too. You know, we feel like this is the beginning of a movement that could be tremendous, right? So even after November 3rd, Brock is looking to invest and support, as well as myself, 100 independent elected officials down the ballot throughout the country at all levels, you know, of government. And so what we're trying to achieve is the beginning of this movement, just the beginning of it. And I feel like we have really started to make some incredible traction. You and I are from the East Coast. We're East Coasters. I'm Philly, you're Jersey, you know.
Right.
The New York Independent Party
Yep.
has endorsed us, right? So we're really blessed. Truly, Thomas, we're really blessed. And that's what we're trying to achieve, really an opportunity for people to recognize, yes, you can do it as well, and you can have an independent voice separate and apart from the two-party system.
Right. So do you think that third parties are becoming more viable in the United States? Because when I think of third parties and maybe other people, my mind kind of goes to Ross Perot or maybe Ralph Nader even, but that was a decent amount of time ago now. This is 20, 25 years ago. So is this becoming something that is more popular?
I think so. I mean, I think of AOC as her own third party. I think of Bernie as his own third party. Bloomberg was his own third party. You know, we could go down the line. I think the next generation, I mean, gamers, blockchainers, they're their own third party. So I think, you know, I think the third party is going to be the new black, frankly, you know. And so I do believe that we have an opportunity to raise some really needed attention to the fact that other voices coming to the table, diverse voices, and I'm not just talking ethnic, but artists, you know, the fact that we now have Akon, right, as our chief campaign strategist, that is a massive artist, and he's interested, Kanye is interested, all these other folks are now interested in taking part of the democratic system from a government perspective. That's massive. So I do think that we're going to start to see our generation really step up and say, enough's enough. You know, we want something different. We want to be able to have a platform that brings people together versus divides us. And music, you know, you think of music is a platform that brings all sorts of people together. I think we have the ability through a third party system to truly bring people at the table that would never have thought about, you know, building consensus before.
Absolutely. Going off some of the points you raised, there does seem to be kind of two sides to the Democratic Party right now. There seems to be the Joe Biden, Nancy Pelosi side, which may be slightly more interested in leaning towards the moderate side. And then there is the AOC, Bernie Sanders side, which is looking to implement, I think, maybe a different kind of change than Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi are. As sort of a hypothetical question, do you think there could be a split within the Democratic Party, which may give rise to a third party that is?
Wow, Tommy, that's a question. You know, I believe the energies are so high.
Yeah.
I'm not in the Democratic Party, so I can't speak from what I don't necessarily know factually of.
I gotcha.
If anything, says that there probably are some rumblings of conversations to that end. I would not be surprised, because I think people with the unrest that's happening,
Yes.
we are on this edge of a potential civil war that people are talking about. And I think people are sick of the extremes. And so there's going to be, you know, a moment where we have to give rise to something else. It's like, it's almost a part of nature. So I would guess there's probably some rumblings. I'm not in it, so I can't speak for sure. It's only Karla's spidey sense saying something's being had, you know, at the table in terms of those discussions.
Yes, absolutely. So in terms of more of a technical question, Christina was talking to me a little bit about how you guys are campaigning very heavily in Wyoming and trying to get that state behind you. What would it really take to get a third party into the White House, and what exactly would a third party White House look like?
Okay, that's great. So, you know, long time ago, back in the day, when my great-great-granddad was around, fifth generation, you know, there was that moment where the House had to decide, you know, what the presidency would look like because of that tie within the electoral process. And so I do believe that that's that tiny window I was speaking about earlier, right? With respect to Wyoming, I think it's 75,000 to 100,000 votes, right, would need to be had to win Wyoming. We're actually headed there Sunday morning. Brittany Kaiser, who is phenomenal, she is our campaign manager and is actually in Wyoming now. So we are doubling down in the state. So in order for us to win, it's going to take a lot of engagement with the community, and we've already been doing that. So just to, you know, Brittany's lived there and all that good stuff. So that's one. So in order for us to win one state, that would be our primary goal, right? Second is, if there happened to be a tie, that's when this goes to the House. And oftentimes Brock will tell you about the fact that typically when it's come to the floor in the House, they have decided, you know, on the third party as the winner. And that only happened once, and that was during my grandfather's period, right? So it does make it a little weird. I don't know what's going on with the DNA side, but it's all very, very strange for me as I'm walking this through and watching history unfold. So that's what it would actually take, right, to get into the White House. Now, what would a third party White House look like? I think you would be really surprised, right? You know, I often think of the Avengers in many ways, right? And it's timely because they have a new one out and it's fabulous. I don't know if you've seen it. Make sure.
Yes.
But I think it's key. I come from a very diverse background with respect to my corporate and government, you know, experience, and having worked with individuals both on the Republican and Democratic side when I was doing work in Washington, D.C. for 11 years. I definitely have an understanding of what a cabinet would need to look like, right? And the leaders around the table that would need to sort of sit in these agency positions, leading the agencies to ensure that the country is sound, that our defense is sound, that our civic infrastructure, especially around education and health, we're also where they need to be. So for me, and I know Brock as well, because we're independents, we look at this very differently, not from a party line perspective. Couldn't care if you're Green Party, Purple Party, Democratic or Republican Party. If your record indicates data-driven success in that area that meets the type of objectives that we're trying to achieve for our country, you're going in that seat. And that's the difference. And we have to understand that within the duopoly that we have now, you are bred, right, to grow up within that system, for better or for worse. So if your candidate is chosen and you happen to be a Republican or you happen to be a Democrat, you best believe that cabinet has already been chosen for you, no matter what. And for you to step out of your party line to put somebody in position, again, no matter what that performance has been, that's what you're looking for. So for us, it's about not looking at whether or not you're Republican or Democrat or independent. It's looking at your performance.
You raise a lot of great points there. And sort of going off of that, what would you say to a lot of people who are actually mostly my age that would say, oh, if you vote for a third party candidate, you're basically throwing your vote away?
You're investing in your future when you would vote for us. You have to vote for your conscience. Unless we are willing to continue to stay the road, right? You will continue to sell out. We never sell out when we choose to walk down that aisle and marry somebody. He's not the perfect. I'll get the lesser of the two evils, I'll swim and I think we don't do that when we vote, I'm going to walk down the aisle and marry somebody for the rest of my life that I'm not 100%. Some of us have done that, but I would highly recommend, like our parents probably would not recommend we do that, right? Because we might end up getting divorced at the end of the 4 years. So I think there's a lot of conversation around that, but here's what we also like to talk about. We are hearing people come to us mostly, whoa, now I'm going to actually vote. Now I'm actually going to vote because I was about ready to not vote. Well, if we can get the next generation to actually get out and get excited about voting, then we've won. Again, we've won. It is something we hear all the time, Tommy, about, oh, are you going to take away votes from Biden? You're going to take away votes from Trump.
Yeah.
What we're really seeing is people are coming out now and voting. And if we can get people to actually be a part of the democracy, whether you vote for us, Biden or Trump or whomever at the end of the day, let's just continue to know that you're investing in what's in alignment truly with how you really feel and how you really feel. And remember, it's not just the office of the presidency that matters. It's key at the end of the day for us to civically get engaged, period, at a local level. No matter who's in that office, and thank God whoever is in the office, right? We will continue though to still have what we do on a local level that moves the meter with our community. We have to do that, and people have to get involved civically, because then it starts to trickle up and you'll start to see the momentum growing on a national level.
Absolutely. So in terms of this election, it is obviously a lot different than any single election we've had in the past because of coronavirus and a bunch of other factors. Do you believe the mail-in ballot system is accident prone? Do you think it's effective? And are you confident that it will go well given the circumstances?
I think it'll go well. I think we have to be less stressful about the fraud conversation that's happening, because I come from banking industry, so I know about the fraud and all that. It is real, but I think we have to temper our response. The good news is we have very capable people, right, who are at the U.S. Postal Office. We have very capable vendors and contractors that have worked on this for years. Okay, so people need to do their homework before we just watch Fox News and CNN headlines and go nuts. Do your research, Google it, okay? Understand some of the best companies in the world have been working with the U.S. Postal Office to ensure fraud is not something that we have to worry about day in, day out. But fraud does happen, right? It happens in life, period. Again, this is where we have to be due diligent, right? On our localized level. The intimidation happens more. Right? And also the social media type of, moving people's thoughts in terms of how they want to vote or not vote. That happens more. We need to worry about that more than mail-in fraud.
Absolutely. And then just as a final question out of curiosity, is there any one state in specific that you found the most success in campaigning so far?
Well, we're coming in, it looks like, really well in New York.
That's great.
Enough, and not that we would win New York, right? But the fact that our numbers are going up in New York are really a powerful testament to, I would say, Frank McKay, who runs the Independent Party, Eric Lerner, who's our campaign manager of New York. And I'm also very excited about the efforts that have been happening here in Utah. Utah is just an underestimated, state. I mean, they are phenomenal. And there are a lot of independents. There are a lot of freedom fighters here that are open to connect and sit down with all people. I think people just sort of, box Mormons in and don't realize how beautiful Mormons are, and the LDS community. So I would say those two states, I mean, I could go on, but honestly, I'm excited about what I'm seeing in New York. I'm excited about the response we've gotten from Utah and Wyoming. Wyoming's just a gem. Wyoming has been open arms to the blockchain work that Brock has done in the past. They continue to be very excited and very forward-leaning as it relates to technology and innovation, and their entire house and congressional body is just phenomenal, because in some cases the rumor is you can't tell a Democrat between a Republican there. Can't tell. People are not concerned about what party you are in Wyoming. They're much more concerned about the impact that you're making for their citizens. And so those are the three states I would say we're making some strides in.
All right. Well, thank you so much for this interview, Karla. I wish you a ton of luck in this upcoming election and what's going to come in the next month.
Thank you so much, Tommy. Okay.
Absolutely. Bye-bye, Karla.